Alright, so we're going to talk through your power notes really quickly. So cell differentiation is what we kind of started talking about today. It's where a cell figures out what type of cell it's going to be. So I talked to you guys about how in the beginning, so you've got an egg and you've got a sperm. Okay, and all of our cells, all human cells except for sex cells, have 46 chromosomes in them. Remember, chromosomes are made up of DNA and protein. So all of our cells have an exact copy of our DNA. So one of my muscle cells has the exact same DNA in it that one of my bone cells has in it. Exact same 46 chromosomes, which are made of the exact same DNA. It's all just exact copies because we all started from the same cell. Okay, so you get 23 of your chromosomes from mom, and then 23 from dad. So what happens is that the sperm unites with the egg. That is going to be a fertilized egg. So that's going to form a cell that has 46 chromosomes if we're talking about humans. If we're talking about other organisms, they have different amounts of chromosomes. And different organisms do reproduction different ways. But this is for humans. Okay? So sperm unites with egg. Okay? The 23 from dad, 23 from mom are going to come together, pair up. Now we have 46 chromosomes worth of DNA that codes for everything about who you are. So this is the original cell of a human. Okay? So this is called a zygote. And what's going to happen is that zygote cell is going to divide and divide and divide and divide and make a bunch of identical cells, all of which have the same 46 chromosomes worth of DNA that's identical, but they don't know what type of cell they're going to be. They're called stem cells at this point. Okay, so this is an embryo. So these are like cells that don't know what type of cell that they're going to be yet. Those are called stem cells. So they don't know if they're going to be a liver cell yet or a nerve cell yet. They haven't figured that out. Okay, so what's going to happen though is that eventually these cells are going to have chemical signals that tell them what type of cell to become. But before that happens, these cells have endless possibilities. Okay, so that's the whole stem cell research thing that we'll get into later. All right, so I'm going to go back to your notes. So the single cell that I'm talking about in your notes is this zygote, this fertilized egg, this sperm united with an egg that is the first cell of a human. So the fertilized egg gives rise to many different types of cells. Okay, so that should fill in your first two blanks of your notes. Okay, this originally fertilized egg divides and divides and divides to make all these stem cells and really early in pregnancy, which are eventually going to differentiate into bone cells and nerve cells and muscle cells. Like maybe this is the nerve cells here, and we'll talk more about the specifics of development later. So the fertilized egg is going to divide by mitosis. So the way we got from here to here is that this cell duplicated its DNA and then divided it in half over and over and over again and made exact copies of itself over and over and over again. We haven't learned about mitosis yet. Just understand that all of these cells are exact copies of this cell. Okay. So as cell division continues, the cells increase in number. Okay, but they also differentiate. I'll spell it for you. Okay, they also differentiate, becoming specialized in structure and function. So once each of these cells figures out what type of cell it's going to be and starts kind of growing into that type of cell and that type of function, we say that it's differentiated, okay, at that point. And it's going to differentiate into different types of cells, which are going to have different types of structures and functions, depending on what type of tissues they're building. So the various types of cells, bone, nerve, etc., okay, all these cells are going to arrange into tissues, and then tissues arrange into organs, organs arrange into organ systems, and organ systems altogether arrange into organisms. Okay, so here we have cells. Okay, so we start off with cells. A bunch of cells of the same type are going to form a particular type of tissue. A bunch of tissues of the same type together form a particular organ. A bunch of organs that work together form an organ system, and then a bunch of organ systems come together to make an organism. So like if we're talking about muscle cells, specifically smooth muscle cells, we're going to make some smooth muscle tissue, okay, which maybe the organ it builds is the stomach. and then the stomach comes together with a bunch of other organs like your esophagus and your small intestine and your large intestine, and those are going to work together to be the digestive system. And then your digestive system comes together with your nervous system, your muscular system, your skeletal system to make an organism, a human. Okay, so moving on to that next section there, nearly all of the cells of a multicellular organism have the exact same chromosomes and DNA. Okay, so all of the cells in your body have the same exact copy of 46 chromosomes worth of DNA. Okay, so one of your skin cells has the same exact DNA as one of your bone cells, same exact DNA as one of your brain cells. Okay, the only ones that don't have that exact same copy are going to be the sex cells, because sex cells, like sperm and egg in humans, only have half of your DNA. Okay, so we'll get more into that later when we go over meiosis. Okay, so we're on to the notes again. During differentiation, only specific parts of the DNA are activated. The parts that are activated determine the structure and function of that cell. So since we have the same DNA in a skin cell as we have, like, say, in a cell that's in our iris, we don't need, like, the gene, which is a section of DNA. The section of DNA that codes for your eye color doesn't need to be used at all in one of your skin cells, because your skin cells are not going to express eye color. So the part of the DNA that codes for eye color is just going to be kind of ignored in your skin cells. It's just not going to be used. It's not going to be activated. Whereas in the in the cells of your iris, which is the color part of your eye, the gene or the section of DNA for eye color is going to be used. It's going to be activated, and that's why we can see eye color there. All right. So because all cells of an organism contain the same DNA, all cells initially have the potential to become any type of cell. Once a cell differentiates, the process cannot be reversed. There is no turning back. Okay, so you should have filled in most of your blanks at this point. So once a cell decides it's going to be a muscle cell, it can't change its mind and say, oh, I'm just kidding, I'm going to become a bone cell. It's already moved in that direction. It's already started to form into that type of a cell. It can't turn back. So once a stem cell has differentiated, it's kind of going in that path and it can't turn back. All right? Stem cells are going to be undifferentiated cells. Okay, so this is one of your blank. It's next number 3 there. Stem cells are I'm spelling it for you in case you're not too sure how to spell it. Undifferentiated cells that continually reproduce and have, under appropriate conditions, the ability to differentiate into one or more types of specialized cells. Okay, so we already went over this definition in class very briefly, but so stem cells are going to be those cells that they just don't know what type of cell they're going to be yet. Once they are activated by chemical signals, then they know what type of cell they're going to be, and they grow into that type of cell. These are going to be found in a couple of different places. The ones that we're going to talk about are going to be embryonic stem cells, and I'm going to spell that for you. Embryonic stem cells, which have not yet differentiated, are called embryonic stem cells. Okay, so going back to this picture that we were talking about before, so this is an embryo. An embryo is basically the original cell copied over and over again, but before the cells have figured out what type of cells they're going to be yet. So this is going to be really, really early in pregnancy. The basically ball, if there's not a better word for it, of cells that haven't differentiated yet, that's called an embryo. So that's why we call them embryonic stem cells, is because they're stem cells that are found in embryos that will eventually form into fetus. Okay. Let's go back to where we're at. Actually, we can move on to the next step. So types of cells, we've got embryonic, which are found in embryos. Okay, so there's going to be exact copies of that fertilized egg. They don't know what type of cell they're going to be yet. And then we have adult stem cells. These are going to be found in the bone marrow, which is going to be inside of our bones. We'll go over that more tomorrow. Now you're going to go do your research to prepare for a debate on stem cell research and the validity of stem cell research and whether it should be done or not. And I want to make sure that you guys understand that The assignment is on Moodle, so you're going to open up the stem cell research document and read through what you're supposed to do. You're going to use the websites that you're given to do some research and kind of combine the knowledge from your research along with these notes. And then you are also going to take into account just information that you find on other websites. If you find other websites that you really like, then you can add those, but you definitely need to cite them in some way. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a debate tomorrow. Now, you do not need to necessarily formulate an actual opinion about this. This is a controversial topic. It gets into things like abortion in order to use embryonic stem cells. So you'll read all about on those two websites why this is a controversial topic. And I am not asking you to give your stance on this topic. That's not what this is about right now. It's not a debate like that. It's about knowing both sides. And so what you're supposed to do is you come up initially, after you've done your research, you come up with a claim. So maybe my claim is that stem cell research is should not be done because it encourages embryonic stem cell research should not be done because it potentially encourages abortion. And then I would give 3 pieces of evidence that supports that idea that I just gave, that supports my claim. So you might look up some statistics on abortion and maybe the rise over the course of the years, and you're going to want to do some research about that. And then you're going to want to come up with the opposing side, and so you need to kind of say what the other side feels. What do people think who are for embryonic cell research, and kind of express their side as well. So read through that assignment. Please let me know if you have any questions. And again, you're not necessarily expressing your opinion. I'm not expressing my opinion necessarily. I'm not even putting that out there for you guys to mull over. I just want you to know both sides and understand what's going on in stem cell research with embryonic stem cells right now. Not necessarily to take a side, just to come up with some research. Okay, so maybe the claim you make is not even something that you actually believe. Okay, maybe it's not your actual opinion, but it's just research that you found. Okay, so when we do the debate, I will actually assign you a side, and so it won't be necessarily your opinion. You have to know both sides of the argument. So please let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys on Thursday.